Hi everyone, my name's Jeff Dean and I'm Math Dad. My goal is to help you help your kids understand math. The other day, I asked my daughter to go clean her room. She ran off into her room and after, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, she came back out. I'm done. And I walked in there and what I saw was a clean floor. But there was only one problem. It was Math Dad clean. But I needed it to be Math Mom clean, if you know what I mean. See, here's the problem. She had everything shoved into corners, tucked into little cubbies and things like that. She had taken all kinds of shortcuts to get everything off the floor so it looked clean, but really it was still a mess. And there was only one way to correct the situation. We had to pull everything all out, make a huge mess everywhere so that we can clean up properly. And that brings me to our second tip for how to help our kids do better in math. And that tip is this: faster isn't always better. Let me give you an example. Imagine that you're reading a book with your child and you want to see if they can read. And they read super fast, spitting out those words faster than you've ever heard them before. But at the end, they have no idea what it is that they read. We'd have a problem. We'd say things like, slow down. You don't need to read so fast. Or you need to read at a pace so that you can understand what you're reading. Well, math isn't any different. Sometimes as parents and as teachers, we try to accelerate what our kids are doing way faster than they have the ability to understand. Some of the things that I do when I'm helping my kids to help them slow down is when I see them doing something, I constantly ask questions like, how did you get that? Why did you make that decision? What is it that you're trying to do here? Or what does this problem mean? You see, it's really similar to what I would do when I'm trying to teach my daughter how to read a book. I'm asking her in a book, hey, what do you think is going to happen next? Why do you think that character made that decision? All of those types of questions help people understand what they're reading. That's why those questions help people understand what they're doing in math. And if your child can't tell you why they're doing what they're doing, they probably don't understand it. So, what about all the shortcuts and the tricks and things that sometimes we've learned and we teach kids? Well, that's where it's kind of like cleaning our room. If I've learned a bunch of shortcuts and tricks, or even memorized some algorithms and steps to complete a task, I might get an answer kind of like a clean room. But in reality, it's just a mess and things are shoved into the corner. And the only way to fix it sometimes is to pull it all back out, make something look pretty messy, so that we can fix and correct, so we can get people to understand. So here's an example, kind of when I was working with my daughter the other day. We were working on some math, and we got to a point where she had to multiply 9 times 9. Now this is a math fact that she probably should have had memorized, but instead, this is what she started to write. So you can see what she's done here is draw 9 circles with 9 tally marks in each circle. Now, that may not be the most efficient way of doing this, but I had to stop and think, that's how she understands this right now. I could have said, the fastest way to do this is just to memorize that 9 times 9 is 81. And here's a trick that you can use to figure that out every single time. But the problem is she wouldn't have understood what was going on. So I needed to build from her thinking to try to get her one level further along in her understanding. So my next goal is, instead of trying to get her to draw 9 tally marks in every single one of those circles, is to maybe do something like, can you count by 2s and put the number 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8 in there, and then maybe seeing if I can get her to jump by 5s in each of those circles until she starts to realize that I can just skip count by 9s if she has the capability, or start to understand something like, well, 9 is just 1 less than 10. So if I have 9 circles and I put 10 in each one of those, that's 90. but I need 9 in each one, so let me take away 9 and I get 81. Now what we're starting to develop is understanding of the math fact, not just something that's memorized and not just a trick that she learned to get the answer. Because one of the things that I hear her say all the time, well, I got the answer, so what difference does it make? It makes a huge difference. It's just like reading. You wouldn't allow your child to say, well, I got to the end of the book. What difference does it make whether I understood what I read? We want them to understand. We want them to comprehend what they're doing. Because when they comprehend one thing, it then transfers to the next. And we start to build strategies. So the tip is faster isn't always better. So when you're tempted to say, hey, here's a faster way to do it, or here's the way you should be thinking about this because it's going to make it so much faster, it may just be like her making her bedroom math dad clean and not math mom clean. You have to then unpack it and make a big mess again because that memorized fact or that trick is not understanding. It just makes it look like we know what we're doing because we have the answer. And we want to focus on understanding. Because when we understand, that's when math becomes much more enjoyable. Thanks for joining me. Tip number 2, faster isn't always better. And remember, I'm Math Dad.